Hello, welcome on Moneycontrol. Today we have a very special guest, MD and CEO of Bank of Baroda Bank, one of the largest public sector bank, Sanjiv Chadha sir with us. Thank you, sir, for giving us time.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for your time, sir. First of all, congratulations for your quarter third report, which is showing somehow a decent numbers in terms of growth.
Thanks very much.
Going Going further, sir, can you put some light on the slip-based ratio, which has declined to 1.05% in your quarter third report?
So I think we have seen a broad improvement in the corporate credit cycle for the last very many quarters. In fact, this is an improvement that was sustained even through COVID. And now we are seeing possibly credit costs and slippages coming at levels which probably are normalized levels. So I would believe that the kind of figures that we see now, they ought to be sustained. And therefore, the improvement that we are seeing in credit costs and on account of that in margins, that is something which we also should see going forward.
Have you done full transmission of a rate hike in your deposit or lending rates, or there is still room for do so?
So I think it's normal that whenever there is a rate increase cycle, there is a lag between the repricing of deposits relative to advances,
Hmm.
and that lag is still somewhat there. If you were to compare the increase in loan yields as compared to deposit costs, it was about 40 basis points last quarter. It's about 20 basis points this quarter, and I think maybe we might get one more quarter of advantage in terms of that repricing lag as we go forward. But in terms of margins, I think they are also being driven by some other factors. One, of course, you talked in terms of the completion of the cycle. So when it comes to the MCLR, particularly
Hmm.
loans which are priced at 1 year MCLR, which is the
Hmm.
largest proportion of loans for us, this is a benefit that you will continue to get for some more time, right? That's one number
Hmm.
one.
Hmm.
Number two,
Hmm.
we are also seeing some broader changes in the portfolio. For instance, for us, the relative share of retail is going up substantially. Retail
Hmm.
loans have grown 30% YOY. And this is where the transmission was the fastest, and therefore this is also having a salutary impact on margins.
Hmm.
Within the retail portfolio, you see that there are certain categories like unsecured personal loans, which is a relatively new business for us. We are seeing very, very robust growth. So I would believe that even while the interest rate cycle plays out, and also the benefit of the lag effect possibly diminishes, there are other
Hmm.
secular factors which should help us make sure that we can sustain these margins.
Sir, BOB is among 8 banks to start trial for the RBI CBDC pilot project. What kind of response you are getting in ongoing pilot project so far?
So I think the pilot project is again, as you would expect, something which is
Hmm.
a technology demonstrator to see
Hmm.
whether what again is planned can be executed on the ground. To that
Hmm.
extent, it has been very successful. Now, of course, it is for the central bank to see when does
Hmm.
it want to make sure that the pilot project moves up to a project at scale.
Sir, Adani is in news again. What BOB total exposure to Adani and what's your stand on this?
So I think
Everyone wants
in
to
terms, yeah,
know this thing, sir.
yeah. So I think one thing I would want to reassure
Hmm.
you and again your viewers is that the improvement that we have seen in the performance of the bank, whether it is in terms of asset quality, whether it is in terms of credit costs, or in terms of growth, or in terms of margins, that is likely to continue. Right?
Hmm. Hmm.
It's most unlikely that there'll be any impact of this. Now, in terms of this particular case, it is not for me to comment on any business group, but
Hmm.
what I can talk to you about is the impact on the or the potential impact on the
Hmm.
bank as such, right? Because you
Hmm.
are again
Hmm.
would want to understand what could be the potential
Right,
impact on the
right.
bank. So
Hmm.
as far as that is concerned, there are two or three indicators that I can
Hmm.
share with you. Not
Please.
specific information on the company. One
Hmm.
indicator is that this group, in terms of the large exposure framework uh, uh, computation, does
Hmm.
not figure among the top 15 group exposures for us, right?
Hmm.
It's a relatively small exposure for us. That's number one.
Hmm.
Number two, the Reserve Bank of India, as per the large exposure framework, which includes
Hmm.
outstandings, it includes non-fund based limits, it
Hmm.
includes undisbursed loans. As per that, it allows you to have a certain amount of exposure on any given group, right? Now, as
Hmm.
compared to that limit, we have only about 25% of that limit. So again, as compared to other group exposures, it is very, very small. The third point, again, I would want to make is that even the exposure that we have, it
Hmm.
is again among a large number of companies, which is what you would expect in any diversified group, all of which again have different cycles. They
Yeah.
have good operating assets, and equally importantly,
Hmm.
30% of the exposure is to companies with either joint venture with public sector companies or
Right.
backed by a guarantee of a public sector company. So, for
Hmm.
all these reasons, I think we can have full reassurance that
Hmm.
even again, if there were to be any downside for the bank, the
Hmm.
downside is very, very limited. And the
Hmm.
improvement that you have seen in the performance of the bank, that will most
Hmm.
certainly continue.
Continuing to this, sir, will you lend Adani in future? Also, what are the major challenge do you see with the loans with the in case of Adani's?
So, as look again for us, any lending decision is based upon again the assessment of risk and the return on that particular exposure. I don't
Hmm.
think we will be changing that at all. Anything that meets our underwriting criteria is a lendable proposition for us.
Any worry for default
I,
you
as
take on it?
I am, at least I can only speak for our portfolio. I am completely
Okay.
assured in terms of where we are.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for your time, sir. So this was from my side. Today we were joined with Sanjiv Chadha, MD and CEO of Bank of Baroda. Stay tuned with Money Control. Thank you.